Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of OTA on the Air, presented by Transport Services, as all of our episodes have been since we have switched over to this format. My name is Evan Newman. I'm Vice President of Business Development with the Ohio Trucking Associations. And again, we would like to just take a moment to thank Transport Services, a full-service semi-trailer dealer with locations in Cleveland and Columbus. Since its inception in 1976, Transport Services has grown to have over 80 employees and continues to expand in Ohio. Transport Services focuses on bringing their customers value by offering trailer rentals, new and used trailer sales, mobile repair, over 30 service bays, and a parts and distribution service. For more information, please go to www.transportservices.com or contact Brian Brook and their sales team at 330-573-0401. Again, we appreciate their sponsorship of this event and our OTA on the Road series once we return to that. So with that being said, we're excited to welcome Sherri Garner Brumbaugh, President, CEO, and owner of Garner Trucking in Findlay, Ohio, to our OTA on the Air series today. I will let Sherri give a brief introduction before we get into the show today.
Well, good afternoon. Yes, my name is Sherri Garner Brumbaugh. I'm with Garner Trucking in Findlay, Ohio. We're located in Northwest Ohio and service the Midwest, primarily east of the Mississippi. In the Midwest, we are truckload, 100% truckload, about 100 trucks and over close to 400 trailers. We have been in business 60 years this year, so that's been an exciting year. It's not been quite the year that we had planned. I don't think any of us have planned this year, but 60 years in business. I'm a second generation trucker. The business was established by my parents, Vern and Jean Garner. So yeah, so we are doing our best like everyone else, trying to get through this crazy year.
Well, congrats on 60 years, Sherri. What an accomplishment by you and your family and the entire team at Garner. I follow the team on Facebook, and I know that you guys are very active in social media and in interacting with your customers and with your people there at Garner. So that's probably just one of the many reasons for your continued success. So congrats and thank you for your service to your community and to the OTA and ATA and some of the things we'll spend some time talking about today is your dedication to the industry.
Sure, sounds good.
So we just have a handful of questions that we wanted to spend some time discussing today. If anyone on the call today, on the webinar, I should say, would like to chime in with some questions, we encourage you to use the Q&A or the chat feature down at the bottom of your screen. And we will get to as many of those as we can at the end of the presentation today. So I wanted to start out our conversation with something on the lighter side. There's been a lot of grumbling about politics and about COVID-19 and the handling of those things. So I wanted to start light before we got into some of those topics later on in conversation. Something you're passionate about, again, something that I've seen on your Facebook page is the Wreaths Across America movement that Garner participates in, and actually just finished hosting your 5th annual Wreaths Across America Ride to Remember. Can you tell us a little bit more about your ride there in Findlay, as well as just in general the Wreaths Across America movement?
Sure. So yeah, this past weekend we had our 5th annual Ride to Remember. We had probably close to 180 or so people participating, but riders that came in from all over to ride. We rode, I think in total it was about 150 miles, I think, on Saturday, around Northwest Ohio, and making a few stops. So it was exciting to see everyone come out. It was nice we didn't know if we were going to have the event 2 months ago. We were, should we not? But felt really about a month ago that we could pull it off. So it was a good thing we'd had done it several times to pull something like that together. We were pretty, all the volunteers, all the folks that help with that, were pretty seasoned in pulling it together. So, it was outdoors, everybody, on their own, on bikes. So it worked out. It worked out fine. And it's turned out to be the major fundraiser for our event here in Findlay. We raised $8,000 over the weekend. So that was great. We typically annually try to raise about $15,000 to bring 1,000 wreaths to our cemetery in Findlay, Ohio. So yeah, it's been something that we've participated in. I'll send, it'll be 7 years now. I'll send one truck from Maine to Arlington National Cemetery. And then 5 years ago, we started a load coming, or 4 years, it will be this our 5th year. We'll be bringing a load to Ohio, and we'll make a couple stops, and our stop will be the last stop. So it's a big day. It's awesome to see young and old come out on that Saturday morning. So this year, that National Wreath Laying Day is December 19th. Which is a little bit later, but it's how the calendar falls. It's always the third Saturday in December. But to come out and, just to see the people come out on that day, it's amazing. I'll wake up in the middle of the night before and go, what if nobody shows up, And it's amazing. People come out, and just to see them come around, and the stories that I've heard, people coming up to me and saying, thank you so much for doing this. My father served, or my grandpa served, or he would have been thrilled that we remembered him in this time. So yeah, it's been very rewarding to be part of it.
It sounds like it, and congrats on $8,000 raised for the effort. Are there other ways that Ohio companies can become more involved or support the movement, whether it's financially or by donating a piece of equipment?
Sure. wreathsacrossamerica.org. If you're interested in participating, registering a cemetery, organizing your own event in your own community. They are very helpful. They have training sessions. They have folks that can help you get organized and what you need to do. As far as participating and bringing a truckload, I can help you get connected with them so you could get registered. Your trucking company could get registered, and what they'll do is they'll look at what area that you're in and see if they can make a good connection there for you. So yeah, they're always looking for trucking companies to help with the effort.
Great. Well, it's definitely become an event that we look forward to, seeing the pictures and seeing the support, and of course hearing the stories that you're able to share with us. It's special. It's special to be able to help those folks who take it so seriously and want to honor the men and women who have served this nation. So if anyone today would like to get involved with that effort, please feel free to reach out to the OTA Wreaths Across America effort or to Sherri. We'd be happy to connect you with the right people. Moving forward, December 19th, it will be here before we know it. So shifting into some different topics like involvement with the association and business operations. You're not only involved in Ohio, but pretty seriously on a national level, vice chair for the American Trucking Association. So tell us about your experience working through the different chairs at the ATA and that involvement.
Yeah, it's been a 5-year hitch. I at this point, it's been kind of like always a bridesmaid, never a bride kind of proposition. You just think you're never going to get there, and all things work well. October, I'll be going in as chairman, MC&E in Denver. So it's still a go. Like Ohio's, I think Ohio's were still a go. And yes. Planning on that. And so, yeah, it's been it's been a great ride, and it's not over yet because once they have you at chair, then you serve as chair, and then they have you for 2 more years serving as a nominating committee and the executive board chair. So they get you for a while, but it's a labor of love. The regulatory, we're so regulated as an industry, and to be able to have a voice, have someone. I say often about the organizations OTA and ATA, y'all have our back in Columbus and in DC so that I can concentrate on what I do, and that is run a trucking company. And I appreciate that. You keep the pulse of what's going on regulatory wise, as far as legislative, what's going on, what could affect the industry, and then just make us aware. And if they're, I get a call every once in a while from Tommy, and he'll say, this is going on. How will this affect your business? And it's like, oh my gosh, this is huge, So, it's a great, relationship in that we're able to lend voice to what these regulations could impact our industry. We have excellent leadership at, not only our state association with you, Evan, and the staff, and Tommy, but Chris Spear also at ATA. I mean, he likes to win. I think that's probably what they have in common. I mean, they like to win, and don't tell him no. He's quite the bulldog, and he fights for the industry. So I have great respect for both staffs and what you do for us.
Well, I appreciate that, and speaking on behalf of the OTA, we appreciate that, and we appreciate the continued support of everyone today on today's webinar, as well as your participation, because it really does take a participating membership for us to be successful at what we do, to have the hard conversations, to move the needle, if you will. So tell us a little bit about some of the different goals that you have for next year as chairman of the ATA, and what needles you're looking to move in DC and maybe in Columbus as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far as, ATA tort reform, we're making some slow progress with tort reform, and we certainly need to keep we need to keep at that. And the nuclear verdicts that are causing our insurance premiums to increase is unsustainable by our industry. So we have to keep at it. We have to keep make sure that it doesn't impede our business any further than that it is. I mean, in Louisiana, we had a win there recently. The challenge is it's a state by state basis, and we're fighting it at the state level when it comes to that. So it's a huge task, but I think we can keep at it. I think the other issue that's top of my list is the human trafficking issue, and making sure that our drivers, our staff are trained, and that starts at the top. Every driver that comes into orientation at Garner, now whether they stay with Garner or not, we always hope that they do, but every beginning orientation includes training in human trafficking. And then they're equipped with resources to help them if they see or witness any human trafficking event occurring. They would know how to react and what to do. So I think that's one of my priorities, as well as influencing my peers in order to do that training. It's an easy thing to do. It really is, and it's impactful. But I think the other area, and this is at the state level at OTA and ATA, is encouraging that next generation in the trucking business to get involved. We really need to engage that next generation to be involved. Something I watched my parents were involved, and so we need more and more of our second generation or third or fourth generation to become involved. That I want to encourage more women.
Mhm.
Women have a voice, and we should, not be timid to be able to share it. So I would encourage women in the industry to be involved.
Perfect, and thanks for that feedback and sharing some of that message with us. Human trafficking has been risen, I think, to the forefront of the dialogue whenever we travel. I was just on a trip recently, went into a restroom and saw posters about, if you see something, say something. And so I think it's an awesome goal that you've set forth. I think we need to focus more on it. I know that OTA has hosted some education on the topic. I'm sure ATA has as well. And whatever we can do to just share some best practices on that topic is huge. And then as for involvement, I think that again is so very important, whether it's from the younger generation or just someone new entering into the industry, showing people that this is a career that they can take seriously. That's why ATA has the LEAD program, and that's why we introduced a few years ago the Emerge program, just getting folks involved in that day-to-day business and showing them, hey, this is a long-term affair. This is a long-term relationship with this industry. So those are very, very important cornerstones of what we need to see happen, state level and national level. So I'm excited for your opinion on that to continue to be put at the forefront. So you've taken multiple trips to the White House, Sherri. You've spoke on behalf of the industry to the president, the vice president, and different folks. Tell us about that experience, maybe some takeaways on how we can talk to legislators more effectively, and about issues like these ones, as well as infrastructure and the price of doing business for Ohio carriers.
Right. I often say of our legislators at the state or at, in DC, they can't know everything about every business, every industry, they can't know everything. So it's our job to tell them. It's our job to educate them about what we do, how we do it, our challenges, and their decisions they make, how they affect us. So, we need to be present, and we need to, share with them, what's going on. That's why I like the call on Washingtons and spending time talking to them about what's going on. And they appreciate us coming too. They can't come to all of our businesses. I understand it would be a tall task, I'm sure. So they really appreciate when we come to DC. And certainly the highlight in my trucking career was going to the White House, and just to be in the same room with the president is like really cool. But I got to ask a question to Ivanka Trump, and she was gracious and appreciated us for coming. It's not an easy task to get into the White House, and I can't imagine right now it is any easier.
No.
I mean, it was about 2 years ago, I think I went. So that it is challenging to get around DC, but I'm very much, they're people just like we are, and they just need to know what's going on in our industry. Or running a business, hiring people, workforce, and the challenges we have there. They don't know if we don't tell them.
Yeah.
I don't hesitate telling them.
It's a very good point. It's sometimes as simple as putting pen to paper and then picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, here's some thoughts I had." I'm one that I like to send emails to some of my legislators, and I hope that they see them. But you're right. Sometimes it's just a matter of picking up the phone or scheduling a meeting at their office, whether it's in Columbus again or in DC. That's going to make the difference because their staffers probably looking at those emails most of the time, not them. So,
yeah.
So with that being said, Garner, relatively small carrier in the ATA ranks. How how have you and others helped to change the dialogue on small or mid-sized carrier operations, and how we can continue to advance that dialogue on a state and national level? A lot of the times we get feedback here at the OTA that, hey, you're only out for the big guy, and that's just untrue, because 60% of our membership is less than 60 trucks. So have you taken a stance on changing that dialogue for the small to mid-sized carrier?
Well, and with ATA, 80% of their membership are smaller carriers. That's 100 trucks or smaller. So, and we have a council for small carriers. So, I tell folks, if you're not at the table, you don't have a voice. And when it comes to the executive committee or the board, my vote counts one as, the large carrier. They only have one vote too. So, it's one of those things. If if you're not there at the table, you can't share your voice. You can't speak up. So don't, it's like, well, someone, they voted in something. Well, I didn't vote. Well, you don't have any place, you don't have any place to complain. I mean, if you can't, vote to defend your position, then there's no complaint. So you've got to be at the table to be vocal, to share your thoughts, to share your, what's affecting your business.
Good feedback. I think that's important. Again, goes back to our point about speaking with legislators. It's just a matter of getting involved and being vocal, and letting us know at the OTA and at different association or chamber levels, even how we can be of assistance. So getting into the elephant in the room, the one that everyone wants to know about is, where do I stand as a result of COVID-19? So if you don't mind, could you share with us at all, how COVID-19 has altered your way of doing business and your team's way of doing business?
Yeah, it was interesting, in March, it was a flurry. I think I said that the last normal thing I did is I went to the TCA convention the first weeks or so of March. We were, came back from that, and it was like, we were dealing with policies, making up policies and procedures that I don't think, were ever part of our, social distancing, mask wearing, cleaning, hand sanitizer, the scramble to find hand sanitizer. And I mean, it was crazy in March. Everybody just, my HR director, we'd never made a policy up, for COVID-19 and, coming and entering the business and things like that. So sending people home to work, we did that, of course. Work from home, we did a significant part of our staff did that. But I have a shop and maintenance facility, and they kept working, and certainly my drivers kept working. And most of our customers, unfortunately for Garner, most of our customers were deemed essential. So there was little interruption, and the customers that did shut down, we had a few. We were able to shift that capacity to those other customers that were deemed essential, because they got really, really, really busy. So we were very fortunate in that regard. And I think all my peers can say right now what we're experiencing is, unfortunately, our shipping community is taking advantage of an uncertain market, and we're seeing our contracted rates are plummeting. And so, it just seems as truckers, we can never catch a break. We were on, we had a great 219 at Garner. We had a good solid 218, a really good 219, and we were on track to have a really good 2020. And I think we'll finish 2020 fine, thanks to we did get PPP money. So very fortunate in that regard. But we're doing okay. We're hopefully there isn't a resurgence of people getting sick, and we can get a vaccine and get get on the other side of this pretty, soon.
Yeah, and I think that I think you bring up a very interesting point about the shipping community, and not to put you on the spot here. This wasn't one of our prearranged questions, but
Mhm.
we've talked. I pulled a report about 2 weeks ago, and we talked to a little over 650 members over the course of COVID-19. The OTA hit the phones, making sure that our members had things that they needed, and that we were there to answer questions, whether they were changes in regulatory affairs, what have you, because things were changing daily, and it still seemed to be. But with that being said, one of the number one things we were told is the shipping community is just berating us, and the shipping community is just putting us in a really tough spot. We don't know what quarter 3 is going to hold, quarter 4 is going to hold. So do you have a silver bullet? And of course, none of us have a silver bullet to answer that question. But
Mhm.
how would you suggest, or maybe what's a best practice on some of that dialogue and shipper carrier relationships? I know that
Yeah.
again, that's a loaded question, and I hate to
Yeah.
put you on the spot there, but
Well, unfortunately, our industry has moved to there's not a relationship. It's a relationship with a electronic bid, and it's become impersonal. I was talking to my I did in buying I bought some trucks this year, and very fortunate to do so. And they nicely take me out to lunch, and would you like to go play golf, or and that relationship's certainly still there with somebody when they buy trucks. But I haven't played golf. I haven't taken a customer out to lunch in years. I mean, because they have policies that don't allow them to. They won't allow that relationship because of corporate, and so that it's hard to have that personal relation. I mean, we do to some extent. There are some loyalties at the local levels that you're dealing with because they're in it with you. They value your on-time service, your investments in your equipment and things like that. But when they have to serve to an upper corporate, we're just a number on a page. So that unfortunately that's where our industry's gone, and it makes it difficult to do you walk away from business? It just becomes impersonal, and so you have to treat it as it is business on our side too.
Well, I appreciate that response. I mean, it's very transparent and very honest, and I think sometimes that's just what we need, is to understand what it works, or what it looks like and how it works. So
Well, but
appreciate.
I would add too that it's important to know your numbers. I mean, we engaged with Cat Sappermiller Transportation Advisors here over 2 years ago, and they provide. I'm not big on consultants. Trust me, I don't. They are consultants, but they have really looked at our network. They looked at what we need per mile, what lane is good, what lane to go after, what lane to walk away from, and they have been an excellent resource for us. So I'd have to say kudos to them too.
Well, that's a good plug. We mentioned earlier the OTA annual conference, and that's coming up in September 21st and 22nd. And actually, Kat Sappermiller and Sherri are going to be doing a session on knowing your freight capacity, and what lanes to run in, and how to make your operation successful. So that's a good plug, and I think that's a very I think it's a meaningful conversation that folks need to have a dialogue about.
I say often that if more of us knew what it costs to run trucks, the better off we would be. It's the folks that don't know the cost of running their trucks they cause the problems.
I'll say that I've heard it from other folks, and then I'll leave it at that. I won't go into those details. But so a couple final questions here as we wrap up today's one-on-one with Sherri Garner Brumbaugh. So, as chair of ATA and being involved in the associations that you are, you're really the voice, the face, and you're communicating with legislators and fellow members. You mentioned earlier you wanted to have an impact on the dialogue we have on certain subjects. And typically that requires getting out and visiting terminals and being on the road hundreds of days out of the 365 days we have in a year. So how do you expect COVID-19 will make an impact on how we interact with our members, or how you as the chairman will interact with those legislators and fellow members? What kind of tools will we use and technologies will we use?
Yeah, I think all of us have adjusted to new technologies and ways to communicate. I know, we did it at Garner as well. I mean, it is a lot of travel, a lot of interaction with people, and with COVID, there isn't that interaction, and so we have found other ways. But the annual meeting is still being planned in October, so hopefully that will come off. But it's just trying to stay connected in unique ways.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the prior question is in a world where sometimes people are avoiding relationships due to maybe someone feeling uncomfortable. It's more important than ever to stay connected, whether it's in person or in a virtual manner. So just keeping that social interaction up. So one final question as we wrap up. You and your father, you mentioned him as we gave introductions, have both been very active in integral parts of the state and federal trucking associations. I know you're also involved at the local level with your chamber. Could you give members today and members who will rewatch this in the coming weeks some advice on how carriers can get involved in their association and have their voices heard?
Yeah, I think so. We found a lot of value in participating in these business-oriented organizations. I mean, you can't know everything. Every day you should learn something. You need to get better or be better. The best part, only the education and always trying to learn something or bring something back to your business that help make you more efficient. Learning from a peer what's worked for them, what's not worked for them. And the best part is just lifelong friendships. They're made in this business that we've come to rely on. I know I've come to rely on that friendship and that support. And in some way we become counselors to each other. By just listening to each other with the challenges and the problems. And when you think you might have a unique problem and then you hear someone else is struggling with it too, and maybe how they work through it, it just that's helpful. And as truckers, we can only understand another trucker's challenges and what he or she may be experiencing. So that's the lifelong friendships have been the best part.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that. It's key to build those relationships. You never know when you're going to need to ask a question or come to the aid of someone who, as we've seen in many cases, due to the pandemic or due to exterior factors out of all of our control, where someone needs some help along the way to get back home, get to home base. So that's key. So with that being said, those are all of our prepared questions today. I do not see any questions in the Q&A portal at this time. If anyone has any, please feel free to chime in the next few seconds here. But I just want to say thanks again to Sherri for giving us 30 plus minutes of her time today to talk a little bit about the industry, where we currently stand, how to be involved, and how to be an active voice, because that, like she mentioned, that's how we stay strong at State House and at the table, to continue advocating for the industries with strong voices like yours, being an active part of the association. Well, Sherri, any final thoughts or last words here? I don't see any questions coming through the portal, but I'd like to give you a moment if you have anything.
No, I just, thank you for tuning in, and, I look forward to seeing you in September in Columbus. And as long as they're still calling it Columbus.
Yeah, we'll see.
And we'll meet there and enjoy some company.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being on today's episode of OTA on the Air. Appreciate again Sherri Garner Brumbaugh joining us today. We look forward to having Ohio Department of Transportation Director, Mr. Marchbanks, on the call next week. So thank you, and have a great week ahead.